Welcome to FAR in 5 minutes. This time, we will cram all things small business in 5 minutes. This will be tough. Unlike its subject matter, Part 19 is not small. It has a whopping 15 subparts. But advancing American small business is vital to driving the economic growth, innovation, and job creation across America. Now, Part 19 brings to life the Small Business Act of 1953, the same year that Disney introduced Peter Pan. But unlike Neverland, the Small Business Act is about businesses growing up, and the SBA is here to help them fly. Subpart 19.2 covers policies and states that the government must provide maximum practicable opportunities for small businesses and acquisitions. Now, what is a small business? Well, Part 19 calls it a small business concern, and they must fall below a threshold called size standard, defined in Subpart 19.1. Size standards are on an industry-by-industry basis, according to something called the NAICS code. Now, contrary to common belief, the NAICS is not a cool slang word for naked. It is the North American Industry Classification System. The size standard requires service-based businesses to stay below a specific revenue threshold, which is dollars, while for supply-based businesses, it's based on a maximum number of employees. So for example, the NAICS for janitorial services is 561,720, and the size standard is 22 million. The NAICS for dolls and toys is 339930, the size standard is 700 employees, and I really would love to work for an agency that's buying dolls and toys. Subpart 19.1 states the CO must select the correct NAICS code, as it does determine the size standard for small business eligibility, and so it can be protested, so check that out. To my OCONUS friends, a small business concern is an American small business concern. We don't care about country small businesses, no offense, world. But Will, are there different types of small businesses? I'm glad you asked. Yes, oh yes, there are. First, there are the general small business concerns, but then we have socioeconomic categories. First, we have 8A companies covered in Subpart 19.8. A Section 8A company is a small business certified under this SBA's 8A Business Development Program, which is designed to help disadvantaged businesses gain access to federal contracting opportunities. The SBA oversees their eligibility, evaluation, and needs to accept the 8A contractor before it can be awarded. 19.815 states that once a requirement is accepted in the 8A program, all follow-ons must stay in the 8A program. Just like the saying, once you go 8A, it won't go away. Now, there are some exceptions, such as for using 8A for digital services. Check that out. Not many people know about it. It's called the Digital Services Exception. Also included in 8A are Alaskan Native corporations, tribal organizations, and other Indian-owned businesses. Those have special exceptions. Check 19.8. Next is the HUBZone companies, covered in 19.13. It sounds like a place kids go that would still have ball pits, but it's contracting support to qualified small businesses in underutilized zones. They're called HUBZones, and it's to boost employment and economic growth in those areas. HUBZone contracts may be set aside or awarded directly. Next is a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, SDVOSB, covered in 19.14 and established under the Veterans Benefit Act of 2003. This offers contracting support to, you guessed it, service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Finally, we have women-owned small businesses, WOSB, covered in 19.15, created by Section 8M of the Small Business Act, and ensures women-owned small business concerns have a fair shot at government contracts. Subpart 19.15 includes a subcategory called Economically Disadvantaged WOSBs, or EDWOSBs. Subpart 19.9 through 12 are reserved maybe for new types of businesses, spirited-owned businesses. There are also small disadvantaged businesses, or SDBs, which are owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals eligible for federal contracting benefits. Now, any of these can be sole sourced directly if the requirement value is under $7 million for manufacturing and $4.5 for everything else. For anyone interested, this is one way to go other than full and open, as a authorized by statute exception in FAR 6.302-5. So what's the relationship among these companies? Is there a preference? Well, Subpart 19.2 calls upon contracting offices to create their own yearly goals for each of these categories. And you can use the Dynamic Small Business Search, or DSBS, which has one of the worst URLs in the history of the world. Seriously, SBA, what is this? Outside of agency-specific small business goals, FAR 19.203 states that these programs all hold equal standing, and COs should consider these socioeconomic programs before a small business set-aside. Now, let's look at Subpart 19.5, all about small business set-asides. Remember Part 6? Subpart 6.1 is full and open, everyone's invited to the party. Subpart 6.3 is other than full and open, only one person's invited, while in between is Subpart 6.2, full and open after exclusion of sources. Only some people are invited to the party. Basically, small business set-asides. Setting aside your requirement exclusively to small business is actually required if the rule of 2 is satisfied, which states that the CO has a reasonable expectation of offers from at least 2 responsible small businesses who are competitive in terms of fair market price, delivery, and quantity. 19.505 states that small businesses must perform at least 50% of the contract work. And here's another important thing to know from 19.505. If you start a small business as a distributor reselling products from a large business, that's a problem due to the non-manufacturer rule, which prevents the government from indirectly buying large business products through small business contracts. Exceptions exist, like published class waivers, such as one for computer equipment, allowing small businesses to resell items like Dell laptops under a set-aside. But what if you can't go small and you have to choose large business? Well, no worries, just require the large business to do it. It's kind of like a do as I say, not as I do sort of thing. Subpart 19.7 covers subcontracting and mandates contractors above the simplified acquisition threshold to submit a subcontracting plan to boost small business involvement. The plans go into a government online system for reporting small business subcontracting. Now, with these opportunities for small businesses, fraud is a concern, so Part 15 focuses on verifying eligibility. You can request a company's small business status, and the government can request the SBA's Certificate of Competency from Subpart 19.6. just to ensure a small business can actually perform on the contract. But remember, the CO is the one who determines a set-aside, based on the CO's reasonable expectation of price, delivery, or quality. Don't force a set-aside if it doesn't make sense. And for business, you can't just hang your hat on status. You're the one responsible for giving the CO that reasonable expectation. Show yourself to be competitive in price, delivery, and quality. One final note, take a look at the agency-specific supplements to Part 19. The DoD, for example, has a mentor-protege program, and then there's the Small Business Innovative Research Program, or SBIRS. Until next time, keep learning, and remember the small guys.